Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici, welcome my friends. My name is Vincenzo and welcome to my channel, and that channel is Fountain Pen Therapy, or at least I thought until today. Yes, we're introducing episode number 1. We're introducing to this channel mechanical pencils. We shall see how it goes. So far I'm intrigued by these slim but interesting writing instruments. They're peculiar. They have a lot of parameters that need to be looked at to evaluate. Are they up to par to fountain pen? Will they give me the same therapy that fountain pens do? I'm not sure. But for this first episode, I've got a series of pens that I want to review with you, which I think are fabulous. And so without any further ado, Fountain Pen Therapy presents the Pentel Graph Collection. Be right back. Okay, so we're back. We're back for the review. Now, let's set the scene here, okay? I've been doing a lot of research. I've listened and seen many videos, reviews, and especially from Japanese reviewers. They're really into this stuff, eh? I mean, like gangbusters. Stationery is very big in Japan and elsewhere, I would imagine, and mechanical pencils form an integral part of their consumption, so to speak. And the perspective I'm going to be giving you is a perspective that comes from as I mentioned in my title, from a fountain pen addict. So it's a confession of sorts, because I've grown fond of these, as I mentioned, these slim writing instruments that offer an excellent experience, but the verdict's still out. So whatever I say and mention here is from that perspective. Now I'm going to try to review the parts and features of each pencil based on what I understand are the parameters that these writing instruments should be evaluated from. So I invite all my viewers to suggest to me other mechanical pencils that I should be looking at, to suggest to me what I've missed and what things I should be looking at, so that I could educate myself. This is a work in progress, and I thought I'd show you why I'm, really fascinated by these writing instruments, and we'll take it from there. We don't know where this journey will take us. It might take us nowhere. It might take us everywhere. We shall see. We shall see. In any event, so let's get with it. I have a beautiful collection. Well, a collection. I have 4 pens that I want to show you from Pentel. So without delaying this any further, let's take a look at the 4 pencils that I have to show you for today. So we'll go to my overhead camera. First of all, there is this, and we're going to start like gangbusters, right? So Why not? Why not? Let's start off with this. Whoa, it's upside down. This is a collection of 3 pens that Pentel has put out, and all of these, what I find fascinating is a lot of these have history, but they've been in existence for years now. So this is, for me anyway, is brand new, and maybe for some of you, but these writing instruments have been around for a while, except that Pentel has come out with a 60th anniversary set, if you will, and there are 3 pens in the set. So let's take a look at that. Well, as you can see from the box, you have the Graph 1000, you have the GRAPHGEAR the Graph 1000 for Pro, the GRAPHGEAR 500, and the GRAPHGEAR 1000. Okay, and I've been told that the 1000 is supposed to stand for roughly 1,000 yen. So roughly a pencil that costs around $10, and that 500 is supposed to stand for, 500 yen or $5 Canadian in any event. And I mean, obviously it's approximate, but it gives you an idea of which one's more expensive than others, so to speak. First of all, here are the pens. Now we'll take a look at the pencils. I got to get used to that. I find this brochure really fascinating. It gives you a kind of a history down the line of drafting mechanical pencils from Pentel. It goes from 1965, and it gives you all the different versions. I think we should have that for pens. In just a simple brochure of 2 pages, goes down from 1965 right to 2025 with the 60th anniversary at the bottom. I find this really fascinating. You have it both in Japanese and in English, and it's really a lot of fun to see how these writing instruments have evolved, and new features, and various brands come out with new features to try to compete. And we'll take a look at what these pencils offer. The first one is this GRAPHGEAR 1000. So what I propose is that I put that on put these pens on a bed. So it's the GRAPHGEAR 1000. Now, this is the 60th anniversary. I do have a standard version that I wanted to show you and share with you, which is pretty similar, but we'll see if there's any differences. So that's your standard version. And let me just do something here. Okay, here we go. Then we have the GRAPHGEAR 500. Okay, actually we'll put him here. And we have the GRAPHGEAR the Graph 1000 for Pro. Okay, so those are the 4 that we'll be reviewing. And let's take a look at one at a time. First of all, in terms of just overall look, you can see that these writing instruments are fascinating. They, you will see that what's important for those of you who are just starting out, just like me, and some of you may already know this, but in terms of the parts, you have the grip section, which is important. You have the cone, which is I would call it the lead cone, or the lead, section. You have the rest of the barrel, and then what's important is to note what materials are being used. You have the clip. Clip is always important, and in this case, it plays even a technical function. And then you have the cap here, or the knob, that sometimes, and most of the times, does the controlling of the nib, and offers underneath an eraser, and we'll see how these things function. So in terms of overall look, I would say to you that for sure I prefer the 1000. You can tell it's more substantive. It just has a very sharp looking and they're slim but very comfortable. You know, some people rave for this little guy, and he's much lighter than all the rest, as we shall see. But this 4 Pro, and I said to myself, why is this smaller pencil, which is much, much lighter than all the rest, you know, 4 Pro, why is it 4 Pro? And what I've learned is that it's got to be comfortable. It is so, you know, you know, for people who draw, it's quick. It's not heavy. It's, you can, you know, have long sessions with the pencil, and you won't be in pain, so to speak. And so lightness and center of gravity are important with all these pencils. But in terms of just overall look, I'm not a graphic artist, nor am I an architect. But in terms of overall look, then you have the Gear 500, which you see is a step down to the 1000. So overall look, and the silver rendition is also really sharp. And they come in different colors. They're color coded depending on the size of the lead. And you're going to see, I'm going to make a mistake. I'm going to refer the lead to a nib, but you'll understand. I won't keep correcting ourselves. You understand where I'm going. So, you know, different colors for 0.9, 0.7, 0.5, and I think they even offer it in 0.3. Fascinating. There's 0.3, there's 0.28, and those are really thin leads, and yet they're a real craze, apparently. At least in Japan they are. So those are the pens. So let's take a look at one at a time, and let's look at their main features. Okay, I think we should start with the big one, so to speak, the GRAPHGEAR 1000. Now I have notes here that I want to follow. First of all, this pencil is made all of metal, so it's an all metal pencil. There is a knurling, it's metal knurling there, which helps in the grip, but it has these dots which are rubberized, which really get your grip going here. So the grip is not an issue at all. There's the cone, the lead cone is made out of metal, and so is the metal knob at the end, and so is the clip. Now, it's a push knob, so the issue is here is that the lead, the knob on top is what pushes the lead to come out of the what they would call the lead sleeve, or the pipe, as I've heard. Okay, so that's the way it works. Some have mechanisms on the side, some have twist mechanism. This is a push knob. Now, underneath the push knob, you can remove this little cap or this little knob. By the way, the knob has this cool number 5. That indicates the size of the lead. So you have it both here and at the top, which I find is really, really nice. You remove it, and you have an eraser. Now, based on my research, this is a nice sized eraser. In other words, you see they give you quite a bit here of extra, and you can push this up and down depending on usage. Sometimes you will see a kind of a rod or a little pin sticking out of the eraser. With that they call the what is it? The expression they use is the cleaning rod. Sometimes your leads get stuck, so they use that little rod to push out the lead. This particular one is supposed to have a rod, or at least the silver one. When I looked at jet pens, it says included, but I don't see any sticking out there. Now, did it go inside? I'm not sure. I would have to look. But so far, I haven't seen that little rod. In fact, I don't think I have any pencils so far with that rod. But the moment I have one, I will share it with you. So that fits in nicely there. And of course, by removing this, that's where you put your leads. You put your lead in there, and that will store the leads, and you push it to force the lead out. Now, what's interesting about this one is that one of the main items of concern is that little pipe. Now that pipe, the reason why it's so interesting, by the way, I had to get myself some cool rulers, here they are, is that it allows you to draw a line, so you don't have a big knob as you would have, and I don't have a ballpoint, but you understand what I'm saying. It would, a big point would kind of distance your line away from that ruler, but whereas when it's so thin, it fits in really nicely, so it's snug against the ruler. That's, I think, the justification for these long pipes, as they call them. And of course, if you drop that pipe will get damaged. It also is very pointy, so you can injure yourself, or it can get snagged in your pen cases, etc. So what some pens do is they offer a system whereby, or a mechanism where that pipe gets retracted into the barrel or into that pencil or lead section. So you can see it's still out, but when you click on, it retreats. You see that? And then it's a two push. You push the top. Well, let me just do this way. One, it releases, and then you push a second time, and the lead comes out. So you can see that the lead, let me just focus here. Yeah, the lead comes out by pushing. And you can see it pushes a little bit at a time. Not too much. Some others you have to kind of open and let the nib slide out, and then you can push it back into the desired, and you can adjust to the desired length. But this one is typical. So this one here, you could see by pushing one, very little. There you go. And that was my mistake. That's why I couldn't use these 0.5s. I keep breaking them because I discovered that I was, the length of the lead was just too much. You don't need anything more than that. And we'll see that some other pencils actually the mechanism is not manual, it's automatic. So as you write and lift the pencil, the lead will automatically, a little bit at a time, advance. This one is not automatic. You need to advance it by clicking the knob. Others have kind of a shaker, and by shaking the lead advances. So you get all kinds of mechanisms which are really, really interesting. The other thing, so you can see it's well identified. You've got the 0.5 here. From what I understand, I mean, this is a 60th anniversary. It's a special edition. It's all black, but they are color-coded. So, for example, this one, which is really cool, the yellow stands for 0.9, and they have different colors for different sizes. The other thing that's very interesting, which you need to look at, is whether or not they have what they call the hardness indicator. This indicates how hard that lead that you're using. Now, you could use different types of leads. You can have, from what I understand, we're used to HB. So that's kind of a middle of the road. The B stands for, it's darker and softer. So you can go 2 broad, 3 broad, 3B, 4B, and it gets really soft and dark. Or you can go to H, 2H, 3H, 4H, and that the lead will be much harder and much lighter. So that's the way I understand it, and I'm just getting into it. So it's fun. It's a lot of fun. And I guess that would be the equivalent of fine medium. Well, yes and no, because the 5, 7, and 9 controls how thick the lead is, and the H and the B control how soft and how dark the lead will be. So there's nothing similar, I think, in fountain pens. But there you have it. Now, am I overlooking anything else? The clip, by the way, aside from the fact that it does have that mechanism, is very springy and usable. Not a problem there. It is the heaviest of the three. Okay, it's got really, I would say to you, the best grip of the three as well, and we'll show you the others in a second. It's the biggest. It's got that retracting pipe, so which is interesting, as opposed to. Oh, by the way, it does dismantle. This one dismantles at the center, and everything kind of opens up. Okay, you see the mechanism, etc. It's always nice to know how to put it all together and how it all works. And the middle indicator, you turn it to get it to where you're at, depending on the lead that you're using. So I think we've covered basically all the interesting parts of this one. If I compare it to this other one, and this one's going to be a little bit briefer, it does have a nice indication, first of all. Very nice. It does have an indicator 0.5, so that's the size of the lead. Except this part is metal. The bottom portion or the grip section is metal. The cone is metal as well. I think this knob is not metal. I think that's plastic. But again, it serves a similar purpose. It has a very similar eraser, and we'll see how these erasers work in a second, because that's another thing that you have to judge. The clip is functional, very springy, and made out of metal. There is yes, the hardness indicator is here. So that tells you that the lead in there is an HB. So the grip section is knurled. It's metal, it's knurled. I mean, it's not slippery at all, okay, because it is, but I don't think it's as interesting as the GRAPHGEAR 1000. Is there anything that I don't need to... Now, it is lighter because it's the 500, slightly smaller, not by much. Actually, we should take the pipe doesn't retract. So if I push the pipe out, you can see the real length of both of them. Length is very, very similar, slightly smaller, but it's much lighter, much lighter. So that's the 500. And then we get to this little monster, which everybody raves about, apparently. First of all, it's not all metal, okay? This section here is plasticized. The clip is metal, and very similar to the 500. Springy, it functions. The cone or the pipe does not retract. It is metal pipe. It is a metal cone, I should say. Very similar. It has the size of the lead right there, so similar to the 500, if you will. And it does have your lead indicator here, right there. Both the 500, by the way, and the 1000 for Pro, disassembled the same way by unscrewing the whole section, and it all comes apart. Okay, so those are the three. In terms of this one, I think it's very similar. Some people have noticed that maybe the interior mechanism is a little bit different from the GRAPHGEAR 1000, but in terms of look and function, we are really looking at the same thing. Let me just see if I've covered all bases. Yeah, I think we've covered all bases. So we're going to put it back on the pad here, and we're going to do a writing sample. We're going to choose one of the pens at a time and do some writing with these babies. So let me set up my writing sample, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we're back for the writing samples, and the papers that I've grown fond of to write with mechanical pencils, they look, if they can take fountain pens, they'll be able to obviously, take pencils. At least most of them will. But what I found that I needed personally is not unlike fountain pens, where I seek out smoothness with just a little bit of feedback. I like the writing experience with mechanical pencils when I have a rougher surface for some reason. That may evolve. So I have three. I've decided that I'm going to go with these three. First of all, I finally get to use my Midori notebook. This one here, of course, the classic. I never use it for fountain pens because I find that the surface doesn't suit my purposes. And for pencils, lo and behold, it suits me just fine. I found this writing pad, Strathmore Writing, and I found that the surface of this writing pad was just fabulous. I also liked the cream color as opposed to just a bright white. I don't know why so far, but like I said, this is a work in progress. And then, of course, I bought this Black Wing, and Black Wing is a brand name when it comes to pencils, especially real wooden pencils. And I found this to be a little more smooth and slippery. I also find the graph a little bit, it disturbs the writing in my view. But I have to find one maybe just lined. I would prefer, I think, than graph. But, you know, the graph that you have, and you'll see that in a second, on the Midori is a little more subtle for some reason. And I find the writing on this graph design is much, for me anyway, is a much more pleasant writing experience. So, so with your permission, we're going to do some writing on both of these. And we'll start off with the Strathmore notebook. Okay, so let's remove that. We can bend that. Am I bending it too much? Got to get used to these things. Okay, here we go. Okay. Let's start out with the light one. Okay. So, which is the 1000 Pro Gear. So this is the. Can you hear the feedback? Put the microphone a little bit closer. And I forget, but I don't believe I changed it. So the lead is an 05 and it's an HB. It gives you just a little bit of that feedback. I think that makes it, I don't know what it is, but it makes it a lot more interesting. Let's try the next one. Now, I understand when they're saying that this is really light. Now, I'm not much of a drawer, but I can see how it's very comfortable. In terms of using a pencil, you can see that you can get your nib right underneath there and make a nice line with no problems, okay? Unlike some of the, a Mont Blanc, for example, will have, you'll have the knob will be, not the knob, but the cone will be a little bit thicker, and it's not meant to be used by graphic artists, if you will, or, architects, for example. But very interesting. What I find also is that I find myself turning the pencil, and sometimes, so if I appreciate the clip, because the clip kind of keeps me grounded. Don't forget that as you use the pencil, well, that pencil gets used up in a certain direction. So if you turn it, then you'll get the, the finer line as opposed to where you're at for your main drawing. And that's why there exists a pencil by the name of Kuro Toga that has developed this mechanism where every time you lift I think it's the way it works is when you lift or as you write, the lead spins, turns on you so that you're using it up consistently all around. Personally, we'll see if that is actually a nice writing experience or if it just gets in the way. Or if it's much nicer experience to kind of do it manually. As you see that you're getting a thicker line, you kind of turn your pencil so you will get that little finer line. And then as that gets used up, you turn your pencil and you get used to it. There it is. It's not automatic, so you need to push it out. So you push it out. It's not automatic. Okay, so that's the light one. We'll go a little bit faster now because we've covered some ground there that I wanted to. This is the Pentel GRAPHGEAR 500. The lead is 0.05 and it's also an HB. I love this paper, by the way. Just enough of texture to make it all worthwhile. And I guess it's because you, as a fountain pen enthusiast, you look for that scribing sound. And if it's too smooth, then you don't feel that vibration. It's like you're missing out on something. There you have it. Works really nice. The grip is very grippy, by the way. In terms of how you could use a ruler with it, again, the pipe is not in the way, nor is the cone. As you can see, it slides nicely. Not an issue at all. Okay, so that's now for the 1000. I thought maybe I would use the Midori to show you how this Midori serves my purposes. This is a standard notebook. I'm going to start with this black special edition first. So this is the, whoa, was sticking out a bit too much, I think. So this is the Pentel GRAPHGEAR 1000. The lead. Now the lead here is a little bit different. I changed it. So the lead is a 0.5, but it's a 2B. And you can see it's much darker and much thicker. Do you see how those graph grids don't really interfere in the writing experience? At least they don't to me. They're very subtle. It is, the texture is a little smoother than that Strathmore. Again, with the pencil, the pipe, look, it gets right underneath. I mean, not an issue at all. The grip section is just fabulous. And the center of gravity, You know, this big clip, because it has a mechanism, it kind of backweights it. And I think the trick here that pencil enthusiasts look for is the center of gravity at the bottom section, from what I understand. Whereas this one, it's not quite there. And that's why I think this little guy, I call him the little guy, but is so, not this one, the Pro Gear, the 4 Pro, center of gravity is really low. It's really there, as light as it is, but it's very different. Whereas this one, I find that that big clip disturbs that center of gravity. Whoop. Wow. So you push it out too much and you're in trouble. But I got to get used to it, because there's I guess an ideal size for my the pressure I put on my pencils. Very nice. Completely different writing experience. Completely different. So, and if I could just introduce the difference, I got the, you know. It's that vibration, that scribing, that, you know, you can feel and physically and hear it, which makes fountain pens, I think, unique. And that's what I'm trying to find. Whoa, that pen leaked. That's what I'm trying to find in the pencil experience. And maybe I shouldn't be, but that's why I prefer that Strathmore, because the Strathmore does give me, and maybe we could use my last one, the Strathmore does give me that now. In this, I've got a thicker lead, so it will be smoother, but I can feel it, you know, I can feel it. It's like the sailor nibs, if you will. Okay, so there you have it. Hope you enjoyed that. It's a fun experience, very different. I just find the instruments to be so intriguing. They're so yeah. Let's just, you know, there's something about them that fascinate me. You know, the way they're built, the textures. Look at like this. You've got steel knurling, but with these rubberized dots. I just wish they could make a fountain pen feel this way. And am I saying that maybe I prefer a thinner pen, and maybe I should be looking at some of these slimmer fountain pens to see if they give me the same experience, or is this just for pencils? That thin, tight feel and writing, it's fascinating. It gets you to write smaller, more precise. You feel like the mathematician, and it takes me back to my elementary days and high school when we bought these pencils, as opposed to pens, you know. And I used to be very good in geometry, and you know, it brings me all back. Maybe there's some historical or sentimental value there that's, you know, that's seeking me out, so to speak. In any event, there you have it. That's my first review. We'll get better. I've got all kinds of beautiful instruments to show you. I got to tell you, in the last month or so, I've been able to put together an interesting collection, and I want to kind of catch up, present these maybe one a week, and so that we can deal with the novelties as they come out, a little bit like we do with pens. You know, all of these pencils have come out, most of them anyway, have come out for some of them years. So I'm not reinventing the wheel, but I'm giving you the fountain pen therapy perspective, or a fountain pen enthusiast perspective on these writing instruments, which may be a little bit different than people who just specialize and enjoy their mechanical pencils. Grazie ragazzi. It's fun, I gotta tell you. By the way, I'm going to put some of those prices up right now. I'll put just on the screenshot. You'll see what those pens go for, and even the set is less than a cheap Chinese pen. And that set may not be readily available. I believe I had to buy it from a Japanese retailer, if I'm not mistaken. But having said that, the prices are not, they don't gouge you, and you can have a very nice experience without spending thousands of dollars as we do, us fountain pen people. So, grazie, arrivederci. Please subscribe. Let me know what you think. Should I keep going, or should I just drop all of this? I may not drop it even if you tell me to, but just because I'm enjoying it. It's mechanical pencil therapy, folks. Ciao.